Guys, UFC 290 is upon us, and my partners at DraftKings are offering an incredible deal for all new customers who sign up using the promo code Sonnen. New customers, bet $5 on any of this weekend's fights, and you're going to receive $150 in bonus bets instantly. You can even use your bonus bets on DraftKings same fight parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same fight, including number of rounds and the method of victory. Remember, DraftKings is the only place where you can bet same fight parlays. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy, and DraftKings is offering huge UFC contests this weekend with massive cash prizes up for grabs. Click on the link below. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook. Guys, do it right now. Use the promo code Sonnen, and all new customers who bet just $5 on any wager are going to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code Sonnen only at DraftKings. Della Maddalena, guys. I think I'm saying that right. I practiced it. I'm quite sure I'm there, and I don't know if there's a fighter that I like more right now. Maybe some equals. But Jack Maddalena, for you guys that don't know, was a rugby player. And he lost his first two. At 14 years old, he switches over to boxing, but he lost his first two professional fights. He hasn't lost since. So, I'm sitting here making a piece about a rugby player whose last name is very complicated to say. Oh, by the way, it's for a pay-per-view that happens to be this Saturday. Oh, by the way, which is headlined by a former rugby player whose name is also hard to say, but you guys would know. Why am I not talking about him? Why am I not talking about Volkanovski? Why am I talking to you about Jack? The rugby tie-in. What do you think of that? Anything? Is there something we should be looking at here? I will hear it often said that the toughest athletes in the world, the toughest sport is rugby. I'll hear that. I've heard other people say that it's hockey. And I have my own opinion. I think it's people that run in a marathon style situation. I think that that's the toughest thing, but I'm personalizing. I would not begrudge or be stressed if you told me I had to go play hockey. Whatever position I was and wherever you put me in, but there's going to be a hockey game. I think I'd be excited and look forward to it. And I think this thing about rugby, and I do acknowledge that those are contact sports, and I do acknowledge there's a level of toughness, but I would stress. I would be stressed if I knew that I had to go and do a marathon. I think it's a different level of toughness. I think the fact that you can quit anytime that you want, but those guys never do. They put one foot in front of the next. I really appreciate that. You know why I bring this to you? It's really interesting what background does the best for MMA. And this argument was real simple since 1993. I've been in a number of these arguments. And ultimately it came down to wrestling. But you also had the boxing, and then you had the taekwondo. And of course, we got sprinkled in there with the Lyoto Machidas, with the karate. And I'm just wondering if we're looking in the wrong direction. Does it need to be combat? Because now we're starting to see an emergence from rugby. Let me give you one from wrestling. Who are you going to recruit to be on your wrestling team? And this answer was all over the place. It was fellow wrestlers and wrestlers nearby, and you get them into the district, and you can get them in your singlet, and you go out and score some points. I had a coach that went out and he recruited from the cross-country team. He went out and recruited for wrestling from the cross-country team, and he got a guy. Guy's name is Drew Roberts. But Drew was 5th in the state for cross-country. And everybody talks to you about wrestling being such an endurance sport, which I'm using wrestling, but I'm really talking about MMA here. There's an endurance that you must have. You must be able to hold up. His skills versus your skills is a very real thing for about a minute and no more than 3. Then all of a sudden you're in the tough guy contest. Who can hold up? Who is willing to fight? Who's got the ability to? So you go get cross-country athletes. They're used to that conditioning. They're used to that pace. They're used to the length that it's going to take to beat the guy standing next to you. And I just really appreciate it. I thought, this is so smart. Why are we looking into the wrong directions? I had a coach that I've talked to you guys about, Roy Pittman. And Roy Pittman was not a big recruiter in wrestling. He's a very successful wrestling coach. He's not a huge recruiter. He recruited one kid that I know of. If he's recruited two, I don't know of number two. If he's recruited 200, I don't know if I only know of one. But his name was Bobby Janice. And it was from a baseball game. Coach Pittman saw some kid who named Bobby Janice strike out. Swung 3 times and he missed, but Bobby had a look in his eye when he failed. And he had a grit and he had a look that just said, I want to do better. I expect more. It's very interesting. It's very interesting that of all the guys on the card, I'm looking for this guy named Jack, whose name is very difficult to say, who lost his first 2 fights. You don't lose your first 2 fights on the regional scene and keep on thinking you can even be in the UFC. But he did. And he is. And someone recruited him. Someone saw him. And someone said, hey, there's this boxing gym over here. Why don't you come in? And he did. And it's a very compelling story. And generally in stories like that, it doesn't involve the somebody that came over and said, why don't you come try this boxing gym? It generally doesn't involve a parent. I don't know Jack's story. I can just tell you this story. It generally doesn't involve a parent. It is not somebody with the gym, some coach approaches Jack's mom or approaches Jack's dad. It's generally they approach Jack directly. And Jack, on his own, has to show the discipline to get the right clothing, pedal his bike, thumb a ride, whatever it was, be down to this boxing gym on time. It's a very interesting story. And you wonder what is the best sport, and you wonder what is the best foundation. And so many times we talk about wrestling, or we talk about striking, or we talk about jiu-jitsu, but every now and then we see it's something completely different. And as plainly as I'm telling you guys about Jack right now, Volkanovski's story isn't wholly different. Oh, and by the way, our light heavyweight champion by the name of Jamal Hill was a college basketball player. So what is the proper foundation? And I do look at rugby, and I do look at basketball, and I look at all that running. I look at all that endurance. I look at all that conditioning. Then transforming and finding the skills and having the grit, do a little bit more than your opponent. I feel like that's the easy stuff in comparison to finding that right guy that wants it. Keep your eyes out for Jack. He's fighting this Saturday.